Hello, my fellow Lymphies. Thank you for joining me on my channel, where I share my life and discuss my life with lymphedema. And I'm here to ultimately share and help other people with the similar problem. So, in my last video, I gave you a quick little backstory about what happened. How I have primary lymphedema, and then how I ended up being bedridden for a couple months. Excuse me. So on and so forth. That was about a year ago. So here I am now, a year later. Different apartment. I'm out walking. And I just want to give it keep you guys posted to like a little transformation, that I'm going through right now. I feel like a butterfly, like a caterpillar into a little cocoon, emerging as a butterfly. Because right now, I talked about it briefly before the last video, where if y'all familiar with the channel, Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing. You see my workout videos, with Chris Fit and the Beast Movement. That's where I've been heavy doing, back at it, doing that. And, there's still ups and downs, because, still haven't got my complete leg strength back, but the good thing is, I'm still walking and driving, I got a cane, as my loved one calls my pimp cane, but yeah, so I'm out here doing this video, doing another video. Let's talk about, what I was going through. So the times when I was in bed, actually let's talk about when I was in bed, not knowing what was, the depression that was going on in my head, not being able to walk again, not being able to see my son, or how will my son, not being able to walk, yes, not being able to walk, not being able to see my son the same way, so I wouldn't be able to go pick him up, I wouldn't be able to go to movies with him, I wouldn't be able just to hang out with him, I'd be in the, either in a wheelchair or stuff like that. I wouldn't be, the dad I am now or the father I was before, and that really hurt me. So the fact that I'm able to, go to his football games and his lacrosse games, and then help him any way I can, and as he's learning and watching him grow, that's a beautiful thing. Because before, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do that. So this grown man, I'm crying myself to sleep day and night. Trying to understand, why is this happening to me? What's wrong? Now, I know that's hard. I know that's hard for a lot of men right now to accept, but it's true. Just emotions. Who's gonna talk about it? We talk about to our close friends, but really. They understand this, but I'm just sharing this because I know they gotta be more men out there who have this, or more people out there in general. But from a man's perspective, I know that there's not enough of us who have this, who come out and acknowledge and want to deal with this, and that's another reason why I'm doing this. It's so because I am you. I understand the fact that you don't want to go out. You have to go out. You have to be a part of society. It's part of your purpose. It's part of your spirit. Your being is who you are. And it's we're men, we're supposed to be out. Whether it be serving our community, helping our families, with being a parent is stuff we have to do. I mean, there's some, probably some I don't know if you want to call it hacks or something like that. Like, as far as going, if you can only, if you can't stand, you can at least go to you can at least go support your kid somewhere in something that he or she is doing, or or be supportive of them. But then at the same time, I mean, that's just me being a parent and seeing it doing it from that perspective. Then on the flip side, at the same time, staying in the family scope of things, the same, as much as you have to change, to be more part of the family, they also should change to be more accepting of you. Meaning that, you just can't get up. Like this, the primary lymphedema, actually any lymphedema, you just can't get up and go. There's always something, especially being a mental, because that's the one thing that's not stressed enough, is that the lymphedema is not only, I would say, a heavy cosmetic disease. What I mean by that, it's physical by nature. You see it. So no matter where it is on the body, the person who has it has to, mentally prepare and how to go out into society, and deal with that, or just deal with family, because they're gonna just want to go out. Go out to dinner, or just go out, or like I said, if you have children, go to sport, go to their kids' play or games or whatever. But there's things we have to know. Number one, the games that, if it's legs, speaking from my personal point of view, is you also got to look at, okay, how you getting ready. If you gotta deal with getting prepared, getting up, getting dressed, or getting up, shower, getting dressed, then getting down the stairs or getting to the vehicle and then driving. So all that, the average person will do that in average male could do about 10-15 minutes, maybe under an hour, but with lymphedema, it's not so cut and dry, because with your legs, everything is slow. You like that Bugs Bunny, the tortoise thing. It's like bugs is flying by, but you like the tortoise is slow and steady. And but that's what I'm saying. Family has to get to understand that, and adjust to that too. And I know that I know it's hard. I know it's hard on both parts, and frustration on both parts. But at the same time, if one is willing, the other one should be willing too. And that's where either a conversation must be had. Must be had. It has to be talked about, because if you don't have peace at home, there's a problem. And once again, I'm speaking from personal experience. There was times when I kept my mouth closed back in the day, when this was serious. In order to get along. Because I didn't want to be anyone's way or be a bigger burden, so I just kept my mouth shut. And and that's tough. That really is. And I know, I don't know how many people understand that, or people without lymphedema may understand that, but it's harder when it is, because you're it's a whole woulda, shoulda, because it's oh, if I didn't have this, I would but because I have this, I should, I'm just biting my tongue, just like, whatever. And it's not, a closed mouth never gets fed. So it sucks. But now, the flip side of that being, now that I got, now that fast forward a couple years, more than that, but fast forward some years and change, going through a whole new thing of life, it's just, I can honestly say that the adage, and I say it all the time, but the body in motion stays in motion. The body, it's still, my body, the body that stops, and I can honestly say that, if you really looked at my videos and you saw the little exercises I was doing, as far as with the walker and going up and down the stairs, that was a hard time, and I know it just seems simple, that was a hard time. It was even hard getting to that moment, to getting to this moment to being home, right? Because it's like, I was still, even though I was at the physical therapy clinic learning how to walk again, the rehabilitation clinic learning how to walk again, that was still hard, because the pain that you get from not moving, it was crazy for me, because I'm already a big dude, so the atrophy that connected, not using my muscles, especially my legs, and that's where I had the lymphedema. Oh my goodness! So it just, that was hard. It was hard work. I was there for 14 days. Okay, let's get specific about this. I was there for 14 days. Now, out of the 14 days, let's see, the day I got there, the night I got there, everything was cool. I was excited. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get up tomorrow. I'm gonna start working. I'm gonna go start walking. Use the walker, whoop de whoop. Yeah, everything, everything was everything. It wasn't the case. The main doctor walks in, he's in a hazmat suit. He was like, I'm like, okay, doc. First I'm thinking something wrong. I'm like, all right, doc. So, when am I going to be able to go to the gym? I'm going to be able to work out. He was like, oh, you ain't doing that. I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, you ain't doing that. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not doing? That's what I'm here for. He was like, oh no, you have COVID. You're not doing that. I was like, COVID? I was like, I didn't have COVID. I was like, I didn't have COVID before I got to the hospital. You didn't tell me I got COVID while I was in the hospital? So he was like, yeah, it must have been. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I'm like, so what am I going to do? I'm just going to stay here in my bed, for the entire time? He's like, oh no. And what we're going to do? He's like, we're going to bring the gym to you. I said, what? Yeah, we're going to bring the gym to you. So, he was not lying, people. My fellow lymphies, he was not lying. So what they did, because the gym was on the same level, because it was 3 or 4 floors, I can't remember, and each floor had a gym. They brought the walker to me. They brought the weights to me, bands. It was those. They were with it. And they were with it. So, but here lies the problem. So, like I was just saying, I did not know how to walk. And the walker they gave, so I was being a little baby. I was being a little bitch. I'm manning up to it, man. I was being a little bitch. And I didn't want to get, I couldn't get up. It hurt to get up. Like that's the only it hurt to get up, you know. And so the walk, so like I said, I'm a big dude, so the walker they gave me was the walker I got from the hospital. I didn't think it was going to hold me, and that was me. That was in my head, right? Because when I got up, you know, I was so shaky from not being able to move and not doing anything. Like the steadiness, it was crazy. I thought I was gonna fall. So I wasn't ready for it, not at all. So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. So the physical therapist at the time, God bless us, God bless this lady, you know. She was like, you know what? She was like, I got you. I'll be back. You know, so she came back. So she just had me doing some some leg exercise and stuff like that. But that once again, that still hurt. But because I had to move. You know, and yes, the cellulitis, was still the after pain of the cellulitis was still there. You know, I had to move. I just had to move. You know, so it was very, very small. You know, just doing the feet thing. So here's my legs. Here's my feet. Doing that. Doing this. Doing that, leg raises, all that other stuff. Yeet, no, I'm just playing. So, but that's the stuff I was doing, and then sitting up and then doing a little workout with the bars and stuff. Yeah, all that stuff too. You know, it's a lot. It was a lot. So that being said, once so that was all the second day. Imagine we're there for 14 days, and I couldn't get up. I barely got up the first day, and then they came back 2 more times, and I couldn't get up. Same thing, just felt scared. So the main therapist comes back with a industrial size walker, Yahtzee. So I got up, still a little, I had a little crooked smile on that, but got up, but here's where it's so on the mind, I knew it would hold me, so I just let God. Anyways, but so standing up was the easy part, because I felt I was able to stand up. But then she was like, walk. Man, listen. I don't know what I thought. I just know it hurt. It hurt a lot. She was like, take a step. I was like, why? I stood up. She was like, take a step. I was like, why? No, but I'll get to that in a minute. Before that, because this is when I stood up, the first thing I was happy with myself. I was happy with the improvement, and I proceeded to ask her. I'm like, what's the difference? I'm like, what happened? What's the difference between the walker I had yesterday and the one today? She was like, your mind. I was like, oh shit. Was expecting that answer, but the reason why, and she was right, was because I felt safer in that one than I did. I felt safer with the industrial size walker than the other one. Now, mind you, the walker you see, if you're familiar with my channel, I fell on Lymphes, or find this video brand new. If you go and look, I have videos where I'm working out, but that walker in there was the walker is the walker where I did not want to do anything. that walk is very infamous because even when I got home, I'll get to that story after. But anyways, let us continue. So, started walking. Now, mind you, I'm in there 14 days, 10 days. I'm under COVID quarantine. So, not only can I not walk, I'm borderline, I'm bedridden still, and I'm quarantined in a room, and nobody could see me. What are we talking about? Yo, it is crazy. So, and then I was taking, now mind you, still the second day, I did a little bit of walking. I walked from the bed to the bathroom and back. And I felt like every muscle in my body was on fire. It hurt a lot. A lot. I'm like, I just, wow. And then, I went to sleep. Yeah, it was crazy. I slept the night away because it felt like I was like I got beat up by a Mack truck. So that's day 2. Day 3, I was going from the window to the wall. Now I'm gonna stop it there, but that's what I was doing for the next couple of days, from the window to the wall. Is essentially with the walk, the industrial size walk, going back and forth. And every little, and the thing is, it wasn't, I'm downplaying it, and I really shouldn't, so for that I apologize. It wasn't like I just got up and went and started walking just like that. That's not exactly what happened. So getting up was still a struggle. It was getting up and standing was an enormous task. Because, like, mind you, I had to have the bed raised up, to help me get a little bit of boost. I had to learn how to how to grab the walker and then support myself to push up, and then be able to stand there for at least a minute, because that's what I was being judged on. Because I had to be able to move, to be able to go back and forth. I had to be able to sustain myself for a minute. That was crazy in itself, because I'm like, like I said, I'm still shaky, still like, not, although I believe the industrial size walk would help, I was still, and that wasn't cool, but for me. So, don't get me wrong. There is a good side to this, because I'm here now, and I'm still going to the gym. But the process to get to this part is very necessary. I listen to nothing but positive music. Positive thoughts. I didn't let nobody negative, come around me or enter my eardrums. So if I heard anybody talking bad about the news, I wasn't watching the news. I wasn't I just my main focus was walking. Was getting back to my son, because we're when he was able to see me, because he saw me at the hospital, and he saw me at the rehab facility, and both times it was heartbreaking, because like I felt his sorrow, like he wasn't used to seeing me that way. I'm big bad daddy. I'm like, I'm some damn near invincible in his eyes. But to see me so like a shell of myself, that hurt both of us. But so like I was saying, so even walking back and forth with a walker, the physical therapist, she walked with the wheelchair behind me, because every little step I take, those who don't know, anyways, every little step I would make was tiring me out. And then at the moment, at that time, I didn't have the strength to be able to stand up. It was like building an endurance all over again. So every 3 or 4 steps, I was like, I needed to seat. I needed to sit down, and that was a task itself, because it's not like I would sit down like I would in the chair. I just literally fell back into the wheelchair, and then it'd be a task to get back up and finish the walk, and then do that cycle all over again for the next 14 days. And it seems minuscule, but during that process, that actually helped me, because the fight to get back what I had lost is important, was important, and still is important till this moment. As I'm doing this video now, that fight is still in me, and that fight at that point to move, to do better, is still what I'm going through now. Oh no, is a part of me, but that's what the transformation is, because that was then, this is now. So I'm saying, if I could go through that and wind up on a better side, so can others who have the same affliction as I do, whether it be in the arm, the neck, the scrotum, the leg, the face. I mean, we can still do amazing things, and still be able to spend time with our loved ones, to do these things. Now, like I said, you gotta look at my videos, see what I'm talking about. I do great things. I make lymphedema sexy. I believe I make it personable, because here I am, literally bearing my soul to the world in hopes of helping others. And then, and it's hard. Listen, that's the one thing I think that everybody needs to understand with us, is that it's hard, and we know it's hard. But because we know it's hard, we still gotta fight too. And it just sucks. God, don't get me wrong. So this is what I'm talking about. So during that whole time there, when I finally got out, when I reached that 10-day mark, and they're like, "Oh, Kevin, your quarantine's over," I was like a bat out of hell. I was doing everything. I was I was doing stuff I wasn't supposed to, because don't mind, me, I didn't like using the bedpan. I'm a grown man, so once I was able to transition from the bed to the wheelchair, I went from the bed to the wheelchair to the toilet. They didn't know that. I mean, they gonna see it now and be like, oh, this dude, he was really dude. Yes, I was, because I'm that dude, and I had y'all just come on, man. I felt like that. Ooh, I could wipe my own ass. I could wipe my own ass. But that's what it came down to. I knew I could, and I had to. But during that, like, so for those the next 4 days, like, I was in the wheelchair. I had to do certain exercises and stretches in the gym, minus I'd say with the occupational therapist, and I was just doing like hand weights on top of leg stretches and leg raises and stuff like that. But that was a good distance away from my room, so I felt like an Autobot. I'm transformed, transform and roll out, and I'm rolling down to the gym. I'm getting my arm workout on, so I already got a workout in, and then I had to do another workout, so I'm pooped. But the thing that got me through that was that time was always right before lunch. So when I was that was motivation. Go down, get that, do that workout. Once that workout's over, spin my wheels as fast as I can. Maybe I had to take a little. I'm not gonna lie, maybe I had to stop a little ways. Catch so brother could catch his breath, because I was used to that kind of physical, that kind of cardio activity for a while. And then once, then go back to the room, then I was sitting there like a happy dog, like, come on, whistle. But, we did 14 days doing that, whipping around, harassing the staff, and it was, for me, it was a beautiful thing, because I didn't have that cloud of the depression seeking in. I was fighting, and that was all because I was moving again. So there was light at the other side of the tunnel. Mind you, that's for COVID. That's like being locked in a room for 10 days. That was just sort of solitary confinement. But the only thing is that I was able to have food brought to me, have my blood drawn, regardless, redonkulous amount of times. Just stuff like that. But yeah, and then there's the end. Then we gonna talk about what the little trickery that was played upon me when I had to leave, and then the good things about going home. Because certain people didn't talk to my insurance. I'm not gonna give no names, but certain people didn't talk to my insurance, and I was sort of rushed out of there, whoopsie whoop, it wasn't under the veil of midnight, but I was rushed out of there. So for profit, when places let you know they're for profit, they really for profit. So it was like the end of your health. You doing good enough. But go home, be okay. If you come back, work something out. But in the meantime, peace. That's what happened. And just the getting home part, I was happy. But the dreaded walker. Yeah. That yo. So they like the rehab facility, they tried to finagle a bagel on a brother. They were like, well, you know, you can't get this, you can't use this walker when you go home. The industrial size walker, like, you can't take it with you. You could order one, that's going to be a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand. How's your insurance? You know, do you have some family member who could order one for you? Oh, you don't know what to tell you. But the same one you came with is the one you going home with, Playboy. Oh, word? Yeah, so you have to use that one for the next 2.5 days because that's when we send you home with. So my little stroll, which everything with the industrial walk, I was like, you know, I was getting my mojo back. When they gave me the other joint, the mine, the one that was given to me by the hospital. Yeah, the same hospital I got COVID from. But like, you know, because of my brother, my nephew, the caseworkers and the staff there believed in me so much that they blessed me with the walker. You know, yes, like, you know, I'm not. It sounds like I'm complaining about a blessing, and I'm not, but I am. It's not the walker necessarily I'm complaining about. It's a situation, and I feel like, you know, I still feel salty about, or I felt salty at the time about the situation I was in. It wasn't necessarily the tool, because that walker helped me to be and get to where I am now at a faster rate than I even thought imaginable. But I'm gonna just close out this video now, and then I'm gonna catch that up on the next one. So for all my lymphies out there, thank you for hearing me, and yeah, catch me on the next video. Peace.